So Kennedy Carter is doubling down, y'all. I reported on this earlier this week, but this story won't go away. It keeps popping up on my feed, and this girl keeps on pouring gasoline on a burning fire. If you didn't know, over the weekend, there was a game versus Indiana and the Chicago Sky. So Caitlin Clark facing off against her rival, Angel Reese. So it's supposed to be a situation that would actually benefit both sides. The Sky getting the exposure of playing against Caitlin Clark on a national stage. But quickly, it got ugly. Basically, something was said on the court. I think Caitlin Clark may have been talking trash or even gave Kennedy Carter a little bit of a nudge on one side of the floor. Then, as the Indiana Fever were inbounding the ball, Kennedy Carter catches her in the back with a cheap shot. Now, if you're watching this, likely you know that already, but it gets deeper. Not only did this happen, but when asked about it, first of all, Kennedy Carter didn't want anything to do with it in the press conference. In the post-game press conference, she was like, no Caitlin Clark questions. I don't want nothing to do with that now, right? But later on social media, she started dropping nuggets about how Caitlin Clark wasn't that good and that she was only known for shooting. What else does she bring to the game? What else does she bring to the game? How about millions of new fans, millions of new eyeballs, sets of eyeballs, single eyeballs? There are Cyclops people out there now watching the WNBA because of this woman. So it goes on and on where Stephen A. Smith and Monica McNutt on ESPN's First Take had a bang out. And if you know a little bit about Monica McNutt, she has covered the WNBA for years. And her and Stephen A. Smith always have a really good rapport on camera. This was a confrontational face-off. She literally, she called him out so bad. Stephen A. Smith says something to the effect of, you know what, who has done more for the WNBA than First Take in my show? And she was like, to be honest, Stephen A., you could have did that 3 years ago. Mic drop. If you would have saw Stephen A.'s face, if you would have saw Molly Qerim's face, Shannon Sharp's face, it was wild. And honestly, I don't remember the last time I've seen Stephen A. Smith kind of get slugged like that. And honestly, Monica laid it down. But basically now there was just a report that came out, and this is crazy, y'all, that Kennedy Carter, according to LarryBrownSports.com, she's saying that she does not regret her actions, that she would actually do it again. This is crazy. Everyone who has reported on this has said that this was an egregious foul and it was not a basketball play. However, it does not give a proper assessment of the entire league's opinion and approach to Caitlin Clark, right? So I get that. This woman's foul on Caitlin Clark does not define the WNBA. So I agree with that. However, the fact that this woman is 10 toes down, doubling down, ready to spin the block. She's ready to spin the block. You know what? I'll do it again. That level of targeting and bullying is just unacceptable. So Monica McNutt and others have said that rookies in the WNBA often face this type of hazing, especially if they are number one picks. So I can totally respect that. I think that the biggest thing for me, just observing it as a basketball fan, is that people are trying to make it seem like this is being blown out of proportion because of the act. This is not being blown out of proportion because of the act. And I'll tell you why it's being blown out of proportion. It's being blown up like this because Caitlin Clark is involved. And despite popular opinion, that is a good thing. It's a good thing, even though the act is egregious and we don't want players to do cheap shots. Like, I get that. But this is good that the news cycle typically ends after a day. After 24 hours, like, a story goes into the abyss of, completed news cycles. We are 3 days in. Not even 3 days. I think we're like 4 days in, and people are still talking about it. So for me, I think this is a prime example of the Caitlin Clark effect. People are not tuning in to watch the WNBA players just play basketball. Not to discount their abilities, not to discount the gifts and talents that they have, because I understand that they are world-class athletes. However, the millions and millions of people that are tuning in this season would not be doing so if it wasn't for the Caitlin Clark effect. Does that mean she will live up to expectations and be the Michael Jordan of the WNBA? I don't know. But what I would say, she is definitely the one who has broken and smashed the glass ceiling that was keeping the WNBA at a certain level. And that's something that I appreciate. Another argument that has been coming up is whether or not players like Carter and others, Diana Taurasi has had some statements about Caitlin Clark, whether or not WNBA players should bow down and appreciate what Caitlin Clark has done for the league. Stephen A. Smith calls Caitlin Clark the golden goose. And he said, if you have a golden goose, you do what you can to protect the golden goose, and then you ride that wave. For me, I agree with that, hey, if we have somebody who's bringing attention to our league, who's bringing new eyeballs, creating new fans, let me make sure that that person is protected, especially when it comes to the teammates of Caitlin Clark. Her teammates really haven't been there to defend her from what I've seen and heard and read. But in terms of players on other teams showing her appreciation, like, listen, you could do that off the court. I think that would be honorable to be like, hey, I appreciate the attention that the game is getting right now. Thanks to Caitlin Clark. I think she's a wonderful talent, and I look forward to seeing her progress. Maybe something like that. But you don't need to be in the game like, ooh, don't foul her, don't touch her. Like, you want to be competitive. We want to see competition from the WNBA players. However, the resentment, the seething resentment that exists right now over this young woman's presence, it's not even like anything she's doing, but just showing up to work. She's coming to work, putting on her hard hat, grabbing her lunch pail, and then she's getting hate from people like Kennedy Carter. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe, and check out this playlist if you want more WNBA.